Recording. Okay, you're
Okay.
on.
Thank you once again for those who are just joining us on the recording. My name is Brian Glenn. I am one of the HPKCC board members. HPKCC is made up of a whole host of folks. Even now, we have people who are on the call that are not even in the state, but they have connections and roots to the Hyde Park-Kenwood community. Super excited about this topic of financial literacy. We have a couple of really important people with us that are going to talk about these subjects, people who understand this, that have worked in finance and in banking. And I really believe that we're going to walk away with some questions answered to some of the things that you guys maybe have had. I would ask that you do not hold back. If you have something that you want to ask it. I would rather them say that's maybe not what we can outside of our realm of expertise, and let's go from there. But if you have questions, ask it. That's why we're here. It's more exciting when people are engaged in asking questions. So at this point, I'm going to ask our board president, Louise McCurry, to offer a few words before we officially get started with presentations and talking. Louise?
Hi, welcome everybody to this amazing second forum for the Hyde Park-Kenwood Community Conference for the year of 2022, 21-22. Hyde Park-Kenwood Community Conference is one of the oldest community organizations in the country, over 72 years old, and used to have as many as 4,000 to 5,000 members. It's really exciting to know we stand on the shoulders of some awesome people who came out to think about ways that community members working together could create change. We hope that today's forum that you're going to get some ideas, going to help you create change in your own life. We know that the Hyde Park-Kenwood Community Conference has the flower show coming up very soon, and the book sale coming up after that, as a way that we try to create change and positive change for the community. So I want to make sure that you guys know about coming out May 14th for the Hyde Park Flower Show and be able to help contribute to your community. It's a really wonderful thing to think that we're doing this for our kids. So this is the legacy we're leaving our children. And those of you who have little children know how really important that legacy is. Thank you for coming out. I'll say more at the end, but I want you to be inspired. I want you to be joyful because COVID is almost over, we hope. I want you to feel joyful and hopeful. And at the end of this, have some ideas you can really use to change your life. I turn it back over to you, Brian. Thank you so much for making it happen today. Go for it.
Okie dokie. Thank you for that succinct introduction. All right. First up with us is Cheryl Parks. I'm going to allow her to introduce herself and give some background, whatever you feel comfortable with. You can tell us how much or how little you want to. I mean, you can treat this like your own little Dr. Phil set if you want to, Cheryl. So super excited to have you. I'm going to pull up your slides now. And afterwards, we'll try to hold off any questions until afterwards, unless they're super pressing. Maybe you're going to ask something that's so provocative that people can't help themselves. So I don't know if that's the case. If it is, we'll just have to deal with that. So Cheryl, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you well. Oh, I'm going to be quiet and you go. Yeah.
Thank you. My name is Cheryl Parks. I've been in banking over 20 years now. I'm with First Eagle Bank as a relationship banker. And I've helped a few people with budgeting and understanding their finances a little better. So I'm going to speak on how to budget and how to save.
Really quick, Cheryl, can I ask, what is a relationship banker?
Basically a banker that can run a cash drawer as well.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So we do everything from commercial banking to being the teller. If you need a transaction done or if you need somebody to talk to about your account, we do it all.
Okay, very good. So the bank is using you in a plethora of ways. Glad to know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Enough of abusing your employer. All right. I'll start this.
Thanks. So this is a quick review of how to budget and save. Let's start with Your budget is your spending and savings plan. You create a budget that works for you. You want to have a savings account to save for the future. You want to be creative with payments, and you need to have to stretch your money to meet the month. And a little way to find extra funds and finding what works for you, because everybody doesn't do everything the same. So a budget is a document that lists the money that you earn, the money that you spend over a length of time. We like to take it for like a month, see what's coming in, see what's going out, and write it all down so you have an idea of where all your money is going to. It allows you to meet your personal goals. It helps you to live within your income and make wise buying decisions, avoid credit problems, and plan for financial emergencies. It also helps you develop money management skills and achieve your financial goals. The following ideas are from Nicole Dow of the Penny Hoarder. So, let's see. Next slide, please. Thank you. So, the building blocks of a spending and savings plan: compare your income expenses, understand where your money is going. I said all that already. The income, like I said, is the money that you receive in. It can come from a paycheck, it can come from a secondary job, tips, little jobs that you might do on the side. If you find things that you like to sell, or find things in your house that you no longer need that you sell, all that's income. Expenses are bills, car bills, rent, food, those things that you have to pay for. Next slide. So to decrease your expenses, you have to think about what your needs and your wants are. You might really need food. Those are things that you have to eat. You have to make sure you have clothing. So a want would be, I want McDonald's. My need would be, I need the sandwich that I could create on my own in my refrigerator. The want would be, I would want something new to wear. The need would be, I could go ahead and find something in my closet and make it new again. Put together an old outfit, brush it up, make it new again, and wear it again.
Cheryl, can we chop that up into a sound bite and I can pass along to my wife? Is that a possibility? Okay. Oh,
No.
never mind. Forget I said it. Just keep on.
Because as women, we always need new shoes. So you conserve, you find out what you can get cheaper or use less of, you adjust, find out what you actually truly can get away with. If every once in a while you have to treat yourself, otherwise you'll go crazy trying to stick to a strict budget. But there are also those things that you really don't need at all that you can eliminate. And that's kind of hard to come to terms with sometimes, but because like right now we all need Netflix. It's our go-to to get out and see new things besides trying to go to the movie theater. I still have a phobia about going out, so I need my Netflix and my HBO. So is spending less money the same as saving money? It is when you take the savings and put it away. So you either put it in a savings account and a little money jar on the side and an envelope on the side. If you just spend it on something else, then it's not really saving. So there's different types of budgets. There's a zero-based budgeting. So zero-based means every penny is accounted for. So you know your account, or at least your budget, will go down to zero each month. The cash envelope system is you have an envelope for each bill, even and each savings. So you might have an investment program $5 goes in that. Gas bill, $30 goes in that. You have an envelope for everything that you want to get paid. You can either use cash or a money order, set that aside, and that when that payment is due, make that payment. The 50, 30, 20, or the 70, 20, 10, that's a budget where you can take 50 or 70% of your income and it goes towards essential expenses. The 30 or 20 would go towards fun, and that last 20 or 10 would go towards financial goals, savings accounts, investment income. The calendar budget, you write down when you get paid, when your bills are due, and you jot down what's left over at the end once everything's come in and gone out. The half payment method helps take some of the stress away from paying recurring bills each month. Your budget for half of your regular household bills, you put it aside away early out of that first paycheck. That way you don't face as big as a financial burden when the bill actually comes due. And the paycheck budget, it ignores the typical rules of creating a budget. You just actually figure out how much you need to pay out of each paycheck, whether that's bi-weekly or semi-monthly. So you tried it. There are a whole lot of other ways of doing this. You try the one that works for you. Maybe try one each month. And when you find something that actually speaks to you, use it, stick with it. Things change, jobs change. Your budget might have to change like with that. Like my budget went from the paycheck budget to the half payment budget when I went from getting a check every 2 weeks to getting a check bi-monthly. Any questions?
Yeah, I was actually going to ask really quickly before we move on that I think some people that will watch later may ask. The majority of folks may be working off the paycheck budget. And are there any resources or places or articles maybe that you can, off the top of your head, think of that might be helpful examples of the paycheck budget and how to structure that? Because I'd imagine that most folks are dealing with when the money comes in and allocating it once it comes in, as opposed to some of the others that come with, salaried positions and making more money than you actually need. So some people actually make what they need. So I was wondering,
Yeah.
those folks on the paycheck, how would they?
Next screen.
Cut it out, please. Cut it out.
No, seriously, go to the next screen.
Okay. There we go.
So my favorite is the penny hoarder. The penny hoarder it's real to me. It's okay. There is more month than money. We've gotten here now. So this is what you do next. And it'll give you that, okay, you can plan like this and there's a different budget for that. And if you just put aside this much, or if you just pay this person, or you don't even have to pay the whole bill, but if you pay something's better than nothing at all. Then they can't say, well, you haven't made any payment because you put something down. Nerd Wallet is another good one. That's more once you get a better foothold on how everything is going, you haven't exactly gone below water, just kind of still treading water. And NPR Money Talks is just so you can hear other people are doing this too, because we're all in this together. Nobody's alone, and everybody is having issues with money right now. That's just the way it is. The apps that I use, Mint, Stash, Credit Karma, well, Mint and Credit Karma will tell you where you are, and you can get a visual view of what's going on. Credit Sesame is another one where you can see what your money is doing. And if you're able to get anything else, or if you need a little help, it'll give you a little nudge and little examples. Stash is an investment one. Get Upside, I'm beginning to see that works. That's a gas app. it says gas, but it does others as well. So there's, you get cash back and discounts. It's change, but every little bit helps. And once you get to a certain dollar amount, you can get that cash back. Waze will keep you from getting tickets. It lets you know when there's one of those cameras, the red light cameras. If it's a speeding camera, it lets you know, hey, you're coming up on a speeding camera here. And I think if people just knew that, a lot of people wouldn't speed in those areas and they wouldn't get those red light tickets or that speeding ticket. And that would help because you're getting notified. Because if you don't know, you go flying through there, the little thing flashes and you have to pay a ticket.
Cheryl,
And
I
then-
just want you to know that City of Chicago is looking for you right now. That's all.
But it's not the only one, but Waze is really good. I mean, it notifies you, hey, and you need to know these things because there's so many people in line for the, I thought everybody was getting their sticker and they're paying tickets right now. So if that one app would just, it even lets you know where the police are from time to time, but you didn't hear that from me. And then my grocery store app is the Kroger Mariano's app. Jules also has an app. Some of these apps are free. If you join them, they let you know when their sales are, and it'll give you discounts and coupons. It might be a little work. You might have to sit down on Sundays and figure out what you're going to do and everything. But that little extra money at the end comes in handy.
Can I add something really quick to what Cheryl is saying? That is so absolutely true. I know that most people do not take advantage of the coupons and savings that they could and don't realize or anticipate in planning ahead. 1 week, something can be seriously 50% off of what it will be next week, and a slight budgeting for that a week ahead, like butter, could easily save you for a cake that you're making next week or something to that effect. So I just think that these simple things may come across as boring and yada, 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 but they truly do help you save in the long run. But all of these things will require you to take some time and to invest your time and energy in reading. I know most people don't enjoy reading anymore because Cheryl just told us about Netflix. She didn't tell us about all of the other great reading apps, but that's neither here nor there. Okay, but we can help ourselves if we take a little time and look at some of these things. So anyway, Cheryl, you take that.
Okay. Well, I didn't want to admit my Amazon account, but we'll just let that go. This one is just letting people know you're not alone. There are so many people that just are trying to figure out how to rob Peter to pay Paul. And eventually Peter's going to get wise and Paul will be looking for you. So just talk about it with other people and know everybody understands, everybody's been there, or they're going to be there. Okay. So I listed this one because a lot of people have decided to take their money and put it in a mattress. You can do that. It's not safe. If you get robbed or if the house burns down, the insurance is only going to pay like $2,500. So if you have it or not and your house burned down, you have $250 that burned up in the house. So I'm sorry, $2,500 that burned up in the house. After that, insurance isn't going to pay for it. So if you keep your money in a credit union or a bank, it's better to have it in a community bank because you'll actually talk to an actual person, and human relationships are important, especially in these times. The credit union is covered by the NCUA and the banks are covered by the FDIC. You're in the bank, you're covered up to $250,000 versus the $2,500 that the insurance would give you if it burned up in your house. Moving on to gas. So This one hurt my heart because I have a left foot. If you drive smarter, that means if you don't speed, you'll use less gas. I tried it. It works. It's very hard to do, but it works. And that helps, save money on gas. If you
Glad we
don't,
can be a part of this therapy for you, Cheryl. Thank you.
if you don't use premium gas unless your car actually needs premium gas. If it says in the car manual, you must put in premium gas, do it. Personally, my car, it's a Toyota Corolla. If I put premium gas in there, it will knock out all the chips. So I've never used premium gas. I always use the lowest octane available. If you can't find your car manual, I'm sure you can Google it, find out what's the lowest octane you can use and still drive. That's normally the cheapest. You can use apps to find it. So Waze also has a gas app. Get Upside has a gas app. And I got like 42 cents off. So I have like $4 in my Get Upside account now. And then drive less. Use a bike, walk, use public transportation, be safe. But yeah, just driving less will help you save gas.
Really quick, Cheryl, we're butting up on the end of our time. I'll jump through and you kind of speed this because we want to make sure we're respectful of Ed's time and get to any questions if we can.
Yep. I'm almost done. We went through this already. Creating a meal plan works. Cutting coupons works. Next. This is what I was able to find out on childcare. The city of Chicago has the Department of Family and Supportive Services. They receive a grant from the state of Illinois for the Department of Human Services. So if you go to the City of Chicago website, you will be able to find different programs to help every type of person and child. So they have something for seniors, all the way to children, all the way to people that need mental assistance or disability assistance. You go to the website that I listed. And that's about it.
Oh, thank you so much, Cheryl. I know that I have several takeaways, one of which is figuring out a way to put money inside of a water mattress, because you didn't address that one. So something to look into. But
underneath.
Yeah, super thankful. A lot of practical things. We'll circle back during the Q&A and address some of those things. But thank you so much again for that. So now we are thankful to have Ed Houlihan with us from Beverly Bank. Ed, are you with us still?
Yes, I am.
Oh, very good. Very good. So thankful to have you. I know that I'm going to pull up your information now, your presentation, and we'll jump right in. Just give me a moment.
And I used to work with Cheryl a handful of years ago. We did presentations together, so it was really good to hear the information that she shared with us today.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So glad to make this reconnection. Next time we'll have to get all of your high school friends as well, and then we can have a real reunion. So, okay, here we go. I'm done joking. If you can't tell, I love joking. I like bringing levity to situations because for me, I just enjoy it too much. So, is this the first slide, Ed, that you want or no?
Yep, that's it.
Okay, here we go. And Ed, please take it away.
Okay, Ed Houlihan from Hyde Park Bank and Trust. Thanks for giving us the opportunity to share some information today. We're gonna talk about some concepts of credit and credit reports and credit scores. I've been at Hyde Park Bank and Beverly Bank since about 2010, and I'm in the consumer lending area. Before we start on the first slide, I just wanted to say that with the recent increase in prime rate a couple of weeks ago, we're in a rising interest rate environment. So the information that Cheryl talked about as far as budgeting and identifying our expenses and going through the wants and needs, it's critical for us now. It's critical for us now more than ever to take a look at our expenses and try and identify where we can either eliminate some or reduce some. I'd venture to say that most of us have some type of revolving credit in our wallets or our purses. And if we do, then our interest rate went up 0.25% 2 weeks ago. Prime rate went from 3.25 to 3.5. All of our variable rate products would have increased by 0.25 percentage point at that time. And the likelihood of them going up as many as 4 or 5 more times over the next year, the likelihood is pretty good. The Federal Reserve has said they may increase rates a number of times over the next 12 to 18 months.
Can I add something really quick, Ed, to what Ed just said? I'd just like to also point out one quick thing because he brought it up. We've been in a fiscal environment where we have been told that it's a state of emergency, and a lot of different policies have been put forth to address the emergency state. And it has created a sense of, trying to quell any panic from happening financially. And now we are going to have to deal with the repercussions of the money that's been pumped, as well as the flattening of those rates for so long. So what Ed just said is so spot on. And it's one of the reasons why we asked Cheryl to go over the budgeting piece. It wasn't to bring up something you already knew. It was really just a reminder and a refresher so that folks understand that, if it's not you, you need to tell your friends and family, because they will be asking you for money. And the reason why is because they haven't controlled their own budget. And so perhaps you could lend this link to this recording once it's up on YouTube or on our page, so that folks can circle back to this, because these sorts of issues are super duper important. And without cash flow and without your household managing your budget, you will not, in this type of environment that we're about to enter into, it's going to be a tumultuous cycle. So just, Ed, I'll turn it back over to you, but I just had to kind of put that in. So.
No, I appreciate it. And you're right. Rates have been at an all-time low for a long time. Many people with credit cards and home equity lines of credit, they haven't seen this variable rate change in years, or hasn't changed in much. So we may be lulled into thinking that it's a fixed rate. We talk about our credit cards at 14.25 or 17.25 or whatever, but they're really margin added to an index, and the index is typically prime, and prime just went up, and it's going to go up a handful more times. So paying down our credit card debt is as important as ever. And we also know that an effect of paying down our credit cards is that our credit score increases, and that also helps our budget. So let's talk about credit. What does the credit report have in it? Who you are, how much debt you have, credit history, whether you make your payments on time, and if you have any negative information in public records, it's going to bring that into the credit report. When we teach to young adults, I tell them it's kind of like a report card when you were in school. We know that there's 3 reporting agencies, three major credit reporting agencies: Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. If you filled out an application for credit at Hyde Park Bank today, we'd pull your Experian credit bureau, and we'd get all this information that we're going to go over in a few minutes. Typically, if you apply for a mortgage, they're going to do what's called a tri-merge, and they're going to pull all 3 bureaus and get it all put into one document so that they can see, because there may be some creditors that aren't reporting to all 3 of these agencies. While we at Hyde Park only pull 1 credit bureau, we do report to all 3. So if you've got a loan with us on a monthly basis, we're going to tell each of the credit bureaus how you've been paying your loan. What information is in a credit bureau? our name, our social security number, current and previous addresses, telephone numbers, birth dates, current and previous employers. Next slide.
I'm having some trouble. Just give me a moment. I'm
That's
trying.
okay. I'll keep
Oh, there we
talking.
go. Yeah.
Obviously a report containing our credit history. And as I mentioned, information about public records, but there's also going to be inquiries listed on there. Now, just anybody cannot pull our credit. They have to be they have to have authorization from us to pull it. So, for instance, a financial institution, when you fill out an application, it's going to, by signing below, you're authorizing us to go ahead and pull credit information. What isn't on a credit bureau? Bank information. Nobody knows where I have my deposit accounts. Nobody knows my balances, debit card purchases, that kind of information is not, that's more for your bank statement, but that does not appear on a credit report. Income's not on a credit report. Medical history, business account information you would not find on your personal credit report. If you've got a business card and you do not personally guarantee it, that would not be on your personal credit report. Race, gender, religion, national origin, nothing about our driving record. Go ahead, Brian, you can change the screen, sorry. None of that information is on our credit report. No criminal record, gym memberships, tickets. If you hear banks use the term debt to income, that's one of the things we use when we're trying to calculate if we can approve you for a loan. None of that information is listed on the credit report. Go ahead, you can change it. Bankruptcy, your credit score. Credit scores, there's typically two, a FICO score and a Vantage score. I was reading an article today and almost 90% of lenders use the FICO score. The FICO score is made up of your payment history. And if you look at the bottom of the screen, so we know while the FICO score is a mystery, the credit bureaus share with us a little bit of information. 35% of our score is made up of payment history. That's me and other financial institutions reporting to the credit bureau each month. Houlihan paid on time, he paid 30 days past due, whatever. 35% of my score is payment history. 30% of my score is outstanding debt. This is where I say any ability you have, if you're looking to make a financial goal today, one of your goals should be to pay down your credit card debt. Because if you owe more than 30% of the limit of your credit card, so you got a $5,000 credit card, you owe $1,000 on that card, that's 20% of the balance. You're not losing any points to your score for that $1,000 balance. If you owe above 30% of that limit, that commitment amount, you'll start to lose points. If you owe above 50% of that limit, you'll lose more points. And if you owe above 75% of that limit, you'll lose the maximum number of points. Now, nobody can tell you how many points. It's different on everybody, depending on all the other attributes that appear on your credit. But we know that if we can pay down our outstanding debt, that increases our credit score. 30% of our score is how much outstanding debt we have. Go ahead, Brian, change that. And then 15% is how long we've had credit. The oldest card I have is from Sears. It's from the 80s. So that's a good thing. Keep in mind, if people tell you, hey, if you're not using your credit card, get rid of it, close it out and get rid of it. That might be good, but don't always do what your neighbor tells you. It's better off to take a look at all the cards that you have and realize that if you close out your oldest cards, you may affect that bullet point at the top, how long you've had credit. So keep in mind, the other thing that you want to keep in mind is if you've got two credit cards, one you're using, one you're not, they both have $5,000 limits, you owe $2,500. So today you have $10,000 worth of credit cards and you owe $2,500. Your balances are 25% of your limits. As I said before, you're not losing any points. If you close out and remove one of those credit cards, you now only have $5,000 worth of credit cards. You owe $2,500. Your utilization is now 50%, and you are going to start losing points. So whether or not we close out cards we're not using is not always the same answer for all of us. And if you do start to close out cards, try and figure out which ones will not hurt your score. New applications for credit makes up 10%. That's inquiries. If you're applying for multiple credit cards, if you fill out 6, 8, 9 credit cards in a 2 or 3 or 4 month period, your inquiries, every one of those companies that got an application is going to inquire on your credit. Your inquiries may affect your credit score.
Ed, why would a person be filling out 5, 6, 7 credit card applications in a 2-month period?
Well, so that's exactly why. Typically, that could be that they're amassing credit and balances, and that might suggest that they're heading down the wrong path. Hence, you would lose points for that.
Yeah.
If you're out shopping for a car, if you're out shopping for a mortgage, and you go to 4 or 5 different car dealers, and each of those dealers runs your credit, that's not a bad thing. So that's why I used credit cards first as the example. We should go out and do our homework when we make large purchases. So the credit bureau takes all automobile loan inquiries within a 30-day period and counts them as one. That should encourage us not to worry about going to multiple dealers, or the same with mortgages. If we're shopping for a mortgage, they're going to take all the inquiries in a 30-day period and make them count them. We'll see each of those individually on the bureau listed. I'll see that you went to 4 different banks looking for a car loan, or 4 different dealers, but it won't affect your score. It'll count against your score as if it was one inquiry. There's a Vantage score, and the only reason that's in here is because many of the scores that our customers or that potential customers come to us with is when we pull their credit, we may get a 680 score. They're going to say, I just pulled my credit the other day, or I get my credit from Credit Karma, or my Discover card gives me my credit score. And it's typically, it can be as much as 100 points higher. There could be a couple of reasons for that, but in most cases, it's probably because the Vantage score is what you're getting from this source. And the Vantage score range is from 500 to 990, whereas the FICO score range is from 300 to 850. So the range is higher, hence both the low end of the range and high end of the range are higher. Hence, probably the score you're talking about is a Vantage score, not a FICO score. Go ahead to the next slide, Brian. I want to make sure everybody knows that every year we as consumers have rights and we get a copy of our credit report. I encourage everybody to do it. Do it tomorrow. At the bottom of the screen, you can go to www.annualcreditreport.com. Now you can go to other places and pull your credit, but more than likely they're going to try and sell you some bells and whistles. They're going to want to see if you want to know every single time somebody pulls your credit, you'll get a beep on your phone or something. It doesn't mean the site is not reputable, but when we teach the FDIC class, they suggest we go to www.annualcreditreport.com. We get one free copy every 12 months, one free copy of each of those credit bureaus. So you can go there tomorrow and pull all three of them, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. Hopefully you'll get some very similar information. Or you could pull one of them tomorrow. In 90 days, go pull one of the other ones, still free. 90 days after that, pull the other one, still free. And then you get a look at your credit over a 9-month period instead of having all three credit reports in front of you at once. What are we looking for when we're pulling our credit bureau? Well, we want to make sure everybody's reporting correctly, but in a time where identity theft is one of the fastest growing crimes in the country, we also want to make sure that there's nothing on that report that isn't ours. If there is, we want to report that to the credit bureau immediately. Go ahead and switch that. This was just more information on how to go ahead and pull it. You can switch it again, Brian. There's 3 numbers if you want to mark down for Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. They can also send you this form if you don't have the ability to go to www.annualcreditreport.com. Go ahead, you can change it again. Also, as consumers, we have the right to dispute our credit. Anything we see on that credit report that we don't feel is correct, we can dispute it online, or we can send in a letter, and this is just a sample letter. Depending on how much information we have, we may want to attach receipts or things to show that, to show what we're trying to support is correct, or we can just send a letter. When I get a letter at Hyde Park Bank, when I get a letter from somebody who's disputing their credit, I've got 30 days to respond to it. I respond to the credit bureau. If I don't respond to the bureau within 30 days, that information gets fixed. So I encourage anybody that thinks there's information on the credit report that isn't true to go ahead and dispute it.
And can I ask you really quickly, there's a growing industry of credit repair specialists, and do you guys at the bank give any advice to individuals who are looking for that sort of stuff, or how to navigate that? Because there's a lot of people advertising about those sorts of services. Yeah, and actually, Brian, there is a page in here. I don't think I put it in because of the time constraint, but it talks about that. And first off, many of the things that they're going to do are things that you could do. The first thing they're going to suggest is that you dispute all the negative credit. Now, they can do that for you, or you can do it yourself for free. What the page in here talks about is interview any company that you're going to hire or contract with to do your consumer credit counseling. Make sure that they listen to what you want and what you need, and make sure they have the answers that you're looking for before you enter into an agreement with them. I can send you that page too afterwards. If you remind me tomorrow, Brian, I'm happy to send that out. Okay, thanks so much. Also, anybody that wants can call me 773-987-3169. If you've got a copy of your bureau and you'd like to go over part of it, I'm happy to talk to you about it.
If you want to go ahead and change the slide, or if how to repair or establish credit wherever you bank at today. Ask them if they've got a product to help you build or repair your credit history. If they don't, we've got a fantastic product. Both of my daughters have done it when they were in college to establish credit. It works the same for repairing credit. You can also get a loan with a cosigner and other different ways. Let me just throw in there one last thing. When we pull a credit bureau to see if you have credit history, see if you're credit worthy for one of our loans. If you don't have credit history, we will offer you to get alternative credit history. So you can get a letter from your landlord or utility companies or a number of different places. If you're paying a storage company, any place you can support 12 months of credit history, we will offer it. I bring that up because in these bullet points here, it suggests it. So while landlords and utilities do not report to the credit bureau, it's important that you pay them timely because you may need them to help support alternative credit history at some point. We can be done with the credit portion, Brian, if there's a load of questions or anything.
No, thanks so much, Ed. I'm looking through now and I see that we're really close to time. So let's move over into some Q&A. If anyone on the actual call has any questions, please use the raise your hand function, and then we can, I see we have someone waving at us right here. Is that Emil? Is that it, Emil?
It's Anne Marie.
Emery. Okay, Nick, can we please unmute Emery? You have to ask to unmute yourself.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Wonderful.
Okay, so I thought that I was going to be given just a very quick presentation on some of the legal issues. Louise had asked me to talk about it because while we can talk about budgeting and talk about credit, often one of the issues that comes into play are some legal issues. And there are just a few things I wanted to talk about.
Sure.
And I'm going to go back to you, Brian, when you were joking about, finding out, talking to your wife about budgeting or someone else, that as a lawyer, and I'm an elder lawyer, I have an LLM in tax. I find that many people do not know their financial situation. One spouse or partner takes care of all the money and the other one knows nothing. So once a year, I always suggest that you ask your spouse, partner, whoever is handling the money, and say, can we go over it? I mean, if something happens, right? How are you going to know what you owe, when you owe it, when the bills are due? And when you're dealing with grief, it is not the time to be learning about what payments you have to be making. And one of the other things I have seen this year is in terms of COVID, no one expected so many people to come down with it. And so your partner, your spouse, your parent, may all of a sudden they are in the hospital, they are on a respirator, and who is going to pay their bills? Who has access to their accounts? And one of the most important things I think everybody must have is the power of attorney for financial decision making. I think to not have one is really reckless because again, the situation this year taught us your parents have mortgage payments, they have pensions, social securities, they have the money to make it. But if they haven't hooked up to be automatic payments and they wrote the check every month, Who writes that check while they're too sick? And it isn't even like during COVID, you could go in and bring the check to their bedside, because no one could get to anyone's bedside, and that might be months at a time. So having a power of attorney in place in case something happens to you, and not that you die, because the power of attorney ends when you die, but while you're sick or incapacitated or maybe out of the state, is really important. And I think you can probably back me up on this, that each bank likes to have its own power of attorney form. And if you're in good health, there's no reason that you can't give it to your bank. So not just the general one, but each bank or brokerage house may want you to have one. One of the other things talking about money is many people who just are getting by think, oh, I don't have to file a tax return because I don't owe money. They may think it's not worth it to get it back, but the government has an earned income tax credit, and far more people qualify for that program than they may realize, especially when there are children in the household. And so I urge everyone to consider going and talking to someone about their taxes to find out if maybe they can get, and I think the maximum that you can get is something like $11,000. So that's really a bonus to your household that could help with major bills. Often you'll see it used for car repairs or a down payment on a used car, which can help someone get a job in a better location. And then the last thing that I wanted to talk about is when you're talking about credit bureaus and credit reporting, sometimes you have family members who have houses that are 2 flats or 3 flats, and they're going to let someone in. You as a prospective landlord or your family member has the right to ask for permission to get the credit record, the credit report on the prospective tenant. And too often people don't do that. And then they end up with problems of tenants who have a history of not paying. So for all of these things, while it seems very scary to talk about lawyers and legal issues and all of that, it can save you thousands and thousands of dollars in the long run. So I quickly kind of wanted to carry that on. And then the last thing is when you're talking about credit reporting, and Ed, if you'll back me up here, if you have become a guarantor for a child, a family member, and they end up defaulting on the loan or the rent, that ends up affecting your credit score. So I urge people to think carefully about whether or not they will sign on as a guarantor for a family member or a friend. And that is my very quick presentation. But I think highlights some of the issues we really need to cover.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you making that so expeditious. I do. I didn't know that you would be presenting, so if I did, I would allot a little bit more time, but thank you so much for doing that. So guys, we are at time. Now I am going to ask if there's anybody on the call who would like to ask a question, to do so now again by using the raise your hand function. If you could do that, I'm gonna give a couple of moments to see if anybody out of respect on the call has a question. If not, I'll give a couple of questions that were asked beforehand, and then we'll end the meeting hopefully within the next 5 minutes. So stay with me. I know that we're advertised till 7, so just give us 5 minutes. If you do, Nick, do you see anybody raising their hand? I do not. I've been scrolling. Oh, we have someone named Brenna. Brenna, can you unmute yourself?
Britta, unmute yourself.
It wouldn't let me at first, sorry.
Okay, okay. Hello there.
Hello, are student loans on credit reports?
Can someone answer that? I know the answer, but I'd like one of our.
Yes, they are, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah,
Is
there a
it
reason?
viewed negatively?
Yeah, it's just like any other loan in that monthly, as you're making payments monthly, it's going to be reporting. So it can
Okay.
be a big positive if your payment history is not timely, then it can be a negative. Yes. Right now, the bureaus pretty much show that there's no payment due because I think most, at least government-backed student loans are now in deferral, but I think that July or August will be changed.
Okay, thank you.
I think Mary's got a question.
Okay. Please unmute yourself.
Yeah, there we go. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes,
we
Mary.
can, Mary.
Hi. A few years back, I got a notification that there had been a breach for in a company that I had used a credit card with, and that I should be aware that someone might try something to use my card or whatever. And I was advised at that time to just go ahead and freeze my credit reports. And in fact, I did that. I put a freeze on all three of them, and I've never taken the freeze off. Any issues with keeping that the way it is long-term? I've not had the need to borrow any money or to do any kind of major purchase, which I suspect banks or anyone else would have looked at. But in terms of putting and keeping that freeze on the report, who can still see the report and who can't?
That's a great question, Mary. And more, by the way, more and more people are using that freeze piece. As of about 3 or 4 years ago, I hadn't run across anybody who had their credit actually frozen. But today, if Mary applied for a loan with us, tomorrow I'd be calling her and telling her I'm unable to access her credit bureau. So nobody should be able to access your bureau while that freeze is on.
Good.
They should contact you. You should take it off if you really wanted them to access it. And then you put it back on 24 hours later, typically.
Good.
That is one of our rights. And if we don't apply for credit very often, that absolutely is a solid strategy. There's also, when I pull bureaus, it could be that you have a message at the end that says, hey, I've been a victim of identity theft. Before granting credit, contact me first and then you've got your phone number in there. I am required to contact you at the phone number in the bureau, not the phone number on the application I have, because that could be a fraudulent person. So that's not a credit freeze. People can access your credit if you apply for it. You've just required them to contact you before you grant credit. So 2 different options. Contact the credit bureau and they can tell you what your different rights are.
Cool. Thank you.
Wonderful question, Mary. Thank you for asking that. Do we have any more? Do we have anybody else that has a question? Can you please raise your
I have
hand?
one. I have one really
Okay.
quickly. So 2 things. One is if a parent or relative dies and they have credit issues or they have outstanding debts, are we responsible for their debts? And 2 is if somebody hacks your account and takes your money, how do you deal with getting that back, or what's the process?
I'll take the first one.
Go.
Am I unmuted?
No, you're unmuted.
Yes.
Go
You're
ahead.
good.
Okay, all right. So I'll take the first one. So the estate of the parent or loved one is the one who is responsible for the debt. That if there's credit card payments, credit card balance, and then there is a house with some equity, the amount owed the credit card company would come off when the house was sold. So it would be the totality of the estate. Unless you have personally signed on as a guarantor or you are on the card, then it is not your responsibility. And then I'll let Ed take the second question.
So the second question is if you get hacked and people open up different loans in your name, credit cards, things like that.
Mhm.
That's a heck of a process to go through. Anybody who's gone through it will talk to you about the nightmare that is. You've got to contact the lender who thinks you have a loan with them. You may have to fill out small state not small state affidavits, I'm sorry, forgery affidavits. I suggest you get a police report, even if you're not sure of who this person is or where they got your information. A police report along with the forgery affidavit are some of the documents that I've heard people talk about, but it is quite a nightmare. So protect your personal information as much as you can so you're not in that predicament.
Does that answer your question, Louise?
It's a good beginning. I think lots of people have the same issue, so I think it's something we can all relate to. The only other issue I think that we did tonight, which is a really good issue, is pets. Those of us who have children, our children grow up, and now we have four-legged children. Some of us have many four-legged children, and they go to the doctor, and they get surgery, and they go to the healthcare and daycare, and they buy wonderful clothes. So I think one of the things we look at is how to save money on taking care of our new children, our four-legged children. And I don't know if that's something Cheryl had looked at, but I think it's something that a lot of us are dealing with now.
I did not look into the four-legged children, but I will refer you to the penny hoarder. They
Okay.
go into getting health insurance for pets, how to get discounts on daycare for pets. So that all that I found in the pennyhoarder.com.
Really?
Yeah, pets are babies, are
Yes.
fur babies, you know?
And
Yeah.
pets often, if there's money in the family, you will find that there are trust funds for pets.
I love it. Love it.
Oh.
Good. I will go to penny hoarder tomorrow. Thank you. That's actually very helpful.
Okay, thank you all so much. I don't mean to be Scrooge McDuck and ending our wonderful time together here, but I do want to be respectful of everybody's time. It is a weeknight, so thank you all so much for all our panelists and people who participated, asked and answered questions, those who just listened to me ramble on in the middle of this. Thank you for that as well. We intend on having some follow-ups to these. I'm not sure when they will happen, but
Next
we'll
month.
we will discuss with our HPKCC team and figure out how we can best follow up to this. But I'm super thankful to Cheryl Parks and to Ed Houlihan for this, as well as all those who participated behind the scenes, like Nick and Eric and Luis, who's with us right now. And just thank you, everybody, so much. We're going to end here, and I look forward to seeing you guys at the next HPKCC meeting. So do you have something to close out with, Luis? Do you have something you would
Yes, two things. One is next month is the Transit Alliance Task Force. We'll be doing a Zoom conference just like this one. And the idea is to talk about the whole issues with transit. And most important, May 14th is the Flower Fair at Hyde Park Shopping Center. It's the most fun you'll have all year. You get to come and find flowers and talk to the experts and decorate your house and your block and your community with lots of beautiful things. So please come. Friday and Saturday would be an awesome time to come. And we can always use volunteers because we are very busy. We have thousands and thousands of people from all over the country who come in. We do it again in the fall. And then of course in the fall, it's a Hyde Park Youth Book Sale where people come from all over the US too. So lots of ways you can actually meet your neighbors because we've been inside with COVID for way too long. So thank you, everybody. Brian, brilliant job as always. But we look forward to seeing people back again next month when we do the Transit Task Force. And this is just the beginning of things about finance. I learned a lot tonight. I think every year did too. So there are more things to talk about. Nick Doolan, you haven't been given enough praise. You just know we're learning how to do this by looking at all the ways people try to undo us. And Nick has been just the genius in making sure that interesting people don't do interesting things in our site. So Nick, round of applause. If I could give you a full round of applause, it would be awesome. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. The real credit
There you
goes to the rest of the team with all of this great information. I learned a ton, and I just really appreciate their efforts of putting this together. and presenting it to all of us. They did a fabulous job. So thank you guys.
Thank
All right.
you.
Well, thank you all so much. We're going to log off here. Please follow up. As Louise said, we have May 14th, an important day. If you want to sign up, your teenage kids or your neighbor's son, don't even tell them and sign them up. I mean, just whatever. Sign people up. Let's get out there and do it. So thank you all. We're logging off here. Good night.
Okay. Good
Thank you,
night.
thank you, thank you. Good night.
Guys, good night.